Here we are on the morning of day one, packing up. Got to do a car ferry this morning down to Barham, which is about an hour away. Well guys, here we are at Torrumbarry Weir at the put-in point, and we've got about a 50-minute wait for the lock that's only just nearby. So we're taking our time getting organised, try and film going through the lock, and it's already a bit after 12, so we've had a busy morning doing the car ferry, and we're going to get underway, which is what we've been waiting for, to actually get on the water. This way, right? We're on the lock waiting for the lock to go down, and then we'll be on our way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Righto, if you sort of stay, you'll get pulled forward a little bit, but if you sort of stay where you are till the gates pop open, it'll be great.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Lovely. Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it. Well, we've finally found a spot that we think will do for a first night's campsite. So we pulled up here. A little bit of a steep bank to get up there, but if we look around, a bit of a forestry area here, bit of a clearing over here. Someone's left us some firewood there, it looks, and room to put up the tents. too. Well, good morning. This is actually day 3 of our paddle from Torrumbarry Weir to Barham. Yesterday we clocked up 34 kilometres, which was an incredible day. We never planned to go that far, but there was just campsites that were very few and far between. We also paddled through some quite heavy rain and we were wet and cold. So we kept paddling and eventually found a spot to camp last night, which wasn't too bad. And there was a break in the showers long enough for us to get our tents up and cook a bit of food. And got off to bed reasonably early. I was pretty spent. I very glad to see the bed. And the showers were still pretty persistent, so I had all my gear inside the tent, which made it rather crowded, but it did keep things dry. Well, as much as you can keep things dry when it's pouring with rain. But look, it was a good day. We were all very glad to stop when we did. And we calculated that we've got about 50 k's to go to do today and tomorrow. So it's looking very likely that we will finish tomorrow. Depending on how we go today, I've currently left a little bit earlier than the other 2 guys. They are behind me, a bit like I did yesterday, and they caught me up in a couple of hours, so they won't be too far behind. I've done about 9 k's this morning in about an hour and a half, I think. So I think we're averaging about 6 kilometres an hour. It's a beautiful morning. It's very still. There's been blue skies, bit of cloud cover now, and there is a forecast that we could possibly be in for some more showers. I'd be happy if that doesn't eventuate, but we are prepared in case that does. I've put my rain jacket at the top of the hatch so I can grab it pretty quickly if needed. Every part of the river that I've done from pretty much from Albury down to here, every part of the river is different. Every part of the river has its own uniqueness, its own beauty in its own way. This is a fairly more remote part of the river, I think. I think I've seen 2 boats in 3 days, so that gives you an indication. And certainly no other kayakers on the water. So a bit of a rarity. There is very few options for camping along here. The banks of the river are quite steep on both sides, so the river's down a bit, which makes it more challenging to find a spot where you can get out. You've not only got to have enough room to get out, but you've got to be able to have room to pull the boats up on some sort of a bank. And So the last 2 nights we've been able to pull the boats in and then had to scamper up a quite steep bank to get our gear up, and it's 3 or 4 trips back and forth to the boat with gear. And you do that at the end of the day's paddle and you know you've done a bit of work. Very still sort of morning. Not really any breeze to speak of. A lot of bird life on the river. The usual screeching cockatoos, and there's been kookaburras and yeah, quite a range of bird life. I don't know what they all are. I've never got really good at identifying birds apart from the really common ones. But I enjoy them all the same. So this is my 9th trip up to the Murray. And we've paddled all the way from Albury to here. I have a little gap in my paddling of the Murray, the section between Howlong and Yarrawonga. It's only a short stint, but that's a little bit that I haven't done. And maybe at some point I'll go back up and do that. If we keep going on from Barham, the next logical point would be to go to Swan Hill from Barham, and that's a distance similar to this paddle of about 100 k's, give or take, along the river. And then the next stop would be Robinvale and then to Mildura, but I think those last two, between them, are about 300 k's. So it's a big country, it's a big river. Whether we get there, it's a nice idea. It's a sort of a bit of a dream or a fancy of mine. But look, I'm not going to be heartbroken if it never happens. I just love paddling wherever I am. And of course, if we did manage to get to Mildura, I know I would be wanting to continue on and then do the South Australian section. When you get so close to the finish of something that you've started, you think you just want to finish it. Well, that's how I am anyway. And but anyway, look, time will tell. I still enjoy it. I still got the energy to get out here and paddle, and it's something that I love to do. Of course, as we get up closer to Mildura, the driving distances get greater. I mean, this trip was nearly 7 hours each way to get here from where we live in Paynesville. So we have shifted to the, further away than Melbourne to get up to the Murray. So all of that's a factor too. You've got a fairly long drive, you've got to do car ferries, you've got to, there's a lot of logistics into these paddles. And you either need a support crew or you need fellow paddlers that have got their own cars so you can do a car ferry. There's a lot of things to figure out, and there's a lot of details that have got to come together. And of course you're relying on other people and their schedule and their real life, as it were. So you just do what you can. And so that's my thought today. Just get out there and do what you can. I'm up here now. I'm enjoying it. The Murray, of course, is a very bendy river. It goes in hairpin bends and figure eights and all sorts of configurations. Any which way, but hardly ever a straight line. So you're curling around, and it makes it more scenic, more interesting, I guess, but it's a lot further than driving a car on the road. Well, pullover spots have been very few and far between. And even where I've got out here, it's not ideal. A lot of mud there and quite slippery. But had to find a spot to get out and wait for the other two. I've travelled 14 k's. And I'm thinking they shouldn't be too far behind. I reckon they might have left 40 minutes after me. But I've stopped and started a lot. So they would have a quicker pace. So I'm guessing they're only 15-20 minutes away. Well, the rain has come. Made a quick emergency stop to get our rain jackets on, and we don't have much option but to press on. Well, our campsite for night 3 was pouring with rain when we got here. Put the tents up in the rain. Thought we were going to have rain for a good while because it looked pretty set in, but it cleared up. And we even have a little bit of sun. So that's something to be thankful for. There's our Starlink, so we can all get some messaging done and phone calls.
You are my shelter from the storm. You keep me safe inside your wings. You are my comfort when life gets hard. You lead me to water to drink. And now I trust your gentle hand, even when I can't understand. I know your voice, I'm not afraid, walking with me at the same pace.
Well, we are underway for day 4. Figure we've got about 26 or 7 kilometres down to Barham, which is of course our finish line. Had a pretty wild night, a lot of rain, a lot of wind, a lot of mud, all the joys of kayak camping. And we are just about underway. Just waiting for the other 2 guys to get their boats on the water. And we're off. So I packed up everything, had to get dressed this morning into damp clothes. I've got one dry set of clothes which I was very tempted to put on, but I'm going to save them for tonight. So it's certainly been an interesting part of the river, this section from Torrumbarry Weir to Barham. Distance, as we said, about 100 k's, 102. And I'd have to say it's been the most challenging section of the river on which to find campsites, but I think that's partly due to the water level being low, and there's exposed banks on each side of the river. So every night that we've camped here, which is 3 nights now, we've had to scramble up a bank to find a place to camp and try and secure the boats at the bottom of the bank. So we try and pick a spot where there's at least room to get the boats in and out of the water. But then of course you've got to carry your gear up a scramble up a embankment, as you've seen in the video, so it's all part of the fun. And but yeah, that's one thing to consider coming down this section of the Murray is don't be too picky on your campsites, because there's not many better options around the corner, particularly if the water's down a bit and you're getting high dirt banks on each side of the water.
You will be true when
Good morning, Mike.
And when I
well.
give you my injuries, through your grace I find your peace. And now I trust your gentle hand, even when I and now I trust your gentle hand, even when I can't understand. I know your voice. I'm not
Just arriving at Barham, at the caravan park where the boys have left their cars after a solid morning's paddle of about 22 kilometres. I think we did pretty well with the wind and all the factors against us. But what a challenging paddle, but a great paddle. We did it again.
walking.